Because my take, even about the Tawe movement, is that I don't know whether governor has looked at it critically. You know, you can start a vehicle. When we are doing engineering, I did some basic engineering, agricultural engineering. We were told something in the workshop. Before you start a machine here, know how to stop it, to switch it off. Because you can start a machine that will be jumping all over the house. And because you don't know how to stop, you run away. That possibly people have realized. If the two who do not want to see eye to eye are together, who are we?
And you're just in time for Richard Mwenje's exclusive Your Home of analysis when it comes to matters, politics and governance here in Kenya and across the region. It's always a distinct honor to have you on board, and today we have a cocktail of issues to discuss on, and to help me dissect on those very subjects is none other than the firebrand that is former Minister Kipruto Arab Kiro. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, I thank God. Yeah, Easter we spent here in Karen. But we just hope that next time we'll travel out of town to Kitale. Yeah.
You're a village man, right?
I like my village because that is where I grew up. And those are the people who have taken care of me for the last almost 40 years. And
also because age is catching up with you.
Well, I'm not running to the village, but I enjoy some of the stories from their genuine village mates, who at times when you share, you get a lot of wisdom. And that's how to get in touch with the ground.
The rains are finally here with us. Are you finally committed to planting that retirement mango tree, the one you will be sitting under its shade?
Well, I have enough of them, but I will still add more because I think it's useful even to have an orchard at home. Yes, I have a few avocados. I want to add oranges, bananas, and perhaps a number of mangoes. So that different seasons you have at least fruits. And I'll tell my family not for sale.
Not for sale?
Yep.
So that when you be coming back to the city, you'll be coming forth with bearing gifts for us?
Yes, I should be carrying.
Very well.
Yes.
That of the way, straight to the day's conversation. Let's talk matters to do with Gema politics and then transit later to national politics. And now we start from the latest subtle move by DP Rigathi Gachagua, that of apologizing to the Kenyatta's family, which he says he had aggrieved during the political period of 2022 and even thereafter. For the DP, oftentimes has taken concern with the Kenyatta's family. What do you make of this latest move from him to seek apology of Mama Ngina Kenyatta and the larger Kenyatta's family? And what does this mean to his political future in the mountain?
Well, it is useful, whether he's doing it for politics or not, it's always useful to remove the burden from you. Because, you know, the DP has worked with the Kenyatta family perhaps longer than any one of us. At some stage, I think it was the PA to the immediate former president. And of course, they knew each other to the extent that possibly looked like one of the sons of Mama Ngina. So given Mama Ngina's age, Mama Ngina's position in society, I think the DP has done the right thing. But fundamentally, from human nature, it's always good to remove the burden from you. Because I'm sure now it sleeps better than before. Because, you know, the politics in the run-up to 2002 became so toxic that nobody could be seen to be reasonable. You are either blue or yellow. And if you are blue, yellow will dirty you. If you are yellow, blue will dirty you. So it worried me because it was not the country that we have known. That we can differ politically, but accept that the position your friend is holding is also a position he has considered very well. But the way we were doing, we were polarizing the country, and it was likely to get to a situation where people will be fighting, like what you saw the other day in Trans Nzoia. Young men fighting each other, and protecting the speaker. And that kind of politics is a brand that does not belong to the future of Kenya.
Very well.
Yeah.
There are those who believe this far, that the move by Rigathi Gachagua to seek apology of the Kenyatta's family is not informed by true concerns and genuine concerns from him, rather because he is receiving new competition, that is Ndindi Nyoro, and somewhat seeks the endorsement of the Kenyatta's family so that he can square out with Ndindi Nyoro as a possible running mate to Ruto in 2027. Could there be an ounce of truth in this new narrative that is coming up?
Well, I usually shy away from rumors, but I know there may be competition, real or imagined, or unease. There are times some unease can make you make certain decisions. So whatever is the case, I think it's a useful move. I want to applaud the Deputy President. I want to appreciate and encourage more Kenyans to reach out to each other, because this space called Kenya belongs to all of us. You may be a big man in the office, I may be a small man in the village, but all of us have a right to this space called Kenya, because it was given by our forefathers, and we need to protect it and make it better, because when leaders fight, it is a very bad example. Children will copy, and you will make society that is so violent, and that violence is not useful, because it is retrogressive. It takes us back, squaring battles that should not be existing. We need to be fighting really battles for a valid cause. Otherwise, we need to encourage more leaders to reach out. I'm sure the president has been reaching out to some of the people who did not like him in the last election. That has been useful, and we need more of that.
Very well.
He is the president for the time being, occupying these 5 years in Kenya. He's our president. And he should rise above possibly pettiness of some individuals.
Very well.
Yep.
The CS for Public Service, that is Honorable Moses Kuria, has also borrowed leave from DP Gachagua, and he too has sought the apology of all those he has aggrieved in the political space, particularly mentioning Raila Odinga and a few other leaders. But let me ask you, what do you think has informed this sudden Damascus moment for several politicians? Why now? That should be the question.
I think the example has been set by the two main contenders of the last election, the president and Prime Minister Raila Odinga, when they agreed that they are going to work together towards the issue of securing a position for Kenya at the AU Commission. That possibly people have realized, if the two who do not want to see eye to eye are together, who are we? Because you see, there are many people who promote battles among the leaders so that they become residual beneficiaries. Is somebody who comes to a funeral, and when something is talked about, he says, I know where to get the coffin. So the motivation is not to mourn with the family. The motivation is to see what benefit. You say, I know I can buy a cow for about Orindume for about 40,000. When it comes, you realize he bought it for perhaps 28,000. He has already pocketed 12,000. So even in politics, if leaders don't watch, some of the wars among leaders is sponsored by their cronies to make sure that you don't meet me and I don't meet you. And they benefit. In the intervening period, they benefit a lot. So when the two protagonists agreed that they are working together, everybody is realizing there is no space for manipulation anymore. And the best thing is to make amends with those you have aggrieved in the past, to make amends with people you perceive to have been your enemies. Another important thing, especially in central Kenya, President Uhuru, who had been vilified and meant to look a bad person, has gained traction on the ground. And that is worrying a number of them. That should President Uhuru anoint somebody or see somebody in favor, with favor, that person is likely to rise and acquire serious national traction. So those are some of the factors, and I think it's also a good spirit. It's also a good spirit for people to realize that let us not be disagreeing. The fact that I don't agree with your issues does not mean I don't like you. I may like you as a person, but you may be doing the wrong thing, and when I tell you it's wrong, accept or prove me wrong by doing the right thing.
Very well. And let me ask you this, just so to clear the air. During your tenure as Member of Parliament and also as a cabinet minister, Do you consider there were situations or even examples whereby personal vendetta took some of the firebrands of then to political destruction?
Yeah, it happens almost, we call it natural attrition process. Politicians, I remember by the time I lost, I was among the last 5 who had consecutively won their seats. We were only 5. I think one was the late president himself, Mwai Kibaki, Mudavadi, myself, Saitoti. I can't remember the 5th one because most of them, including Prime Minister Raila, came to parliament after me. Yeah, I think the other one was Kalonzo Musyoka, who had been there for, I think, 4 consecutive terms uninterrupted. Some of the people had gone out and come back, like
maybe
Sam Ongeri. Yeah. So natural attrition takes place. It may be that you have not responded well with the ground. Of course, even the system destroys you, like some of the people who are suspected to have been killed politically, like the late Jem Kariuki, Pio Gama Pinto, the accident that was said to have been engineered like that of George Morara from Kisii, and Ajamong from Teso, the father of the immediate former governor of Ojamong. There was the Mboya case. Later on after Mboya, there was also the case of, that's 69. Mboya was in 1969. There was also the case of people like the late Robert Ouko, who have seen to have been assassinated by, of course, stage-managed kind of state-sponsored mission. Whether it is true or not, those are the feelings that people had at that particular time. So it happened. But the most important thing is that when I became minister, I appointed some of the people who had been competing to various positions in government. I appointed Muliro's own son, Mwambu, as the chairman of Chemelil. I appointed John Kirwa Rotich, who was my competitor earlier. And when the system favored me, he was shunted. I appointed another fellow called Manguliechi, who had been a candidate against me in Cherangani, because I said, this is an opportunity to serve Kenyans. And even those who don't agree with you, give them a chance. Those are people we had been in competition together.
It makes sense.
Yes. So I always believe forgiveness is a virtue. And it's a virtue that the most to benefit, it is you yourself, because you are lifting a burden from your heart.
Very well.
You cannot afford to be fighting people from morning to evening. You get even nightmares. You think, oh, Kiru has arrived. You are fighting me.
Imaginary enemies.
Enemies. You realize that is what was affecting the late Idi Amin. He used to have nightmares, and even the askaris around his gate, he could just switch off the lights and go prying whether they are planning to overthrow him. Eventually he died. Well, of course, he had lost the power. So when you get bitter, I'm telling you, the moment you get bitter, even your own children, they are not perfect. So other people's children, how do you expect them to be perfect? So what the DP has done is admirable. You should continue doing the same for many other, and also let that be infectious, so that all in Kenya Kwanza, they stop bragging that we won fair and square. They do the job they have been given by Kenyans to do. Remember President Kibaki for 10 years, he never mentioned Moi. And yet Moi frustrated him, including demoting him from a vice president to a mere minister for health.
He did not vilify him.
He never even wanted us to mention Moi, including the house here in Kibera, the Cabernet Gardens. That was a state house. It was a house belonging to the state. It was the home of the vice president. So when President Moi took over as president, he continued staying, but he had not even changed anything. It was still government property. So the president told us in the cabinet, who has been staying there, we said so and so. Sema waja enda akae huko, waja endelee kukaa. Tutajenga ingine. That's how they built the one of Karen. the current residence of the deputy president. They left that to him. Kimunya took the title to him. You can ask him one of these days.
Very well.
Kimunya was then Minister for Lands. So you can see Kibaki did not have time for pettiness. Yeah. Any time you are petty, you would switch off and talk about something else. Yeah. And forget about your small stories.
A political gentleman.
A very political gentleman. I remember one time we were insisting, I think it was me or somebody else, repeating the same thing, that we must do this as we were campaigning before we took over. He said, if you believe in a story, you don't repeat it unless you are repeating for yourself to believe. But if you already believe, you walk. Those fellows, they will check on you, and when they realize you are still walking, they will follow you. So, you know, for him, he believed in action.
Very well.
Yeah.
And let's still talk matters to do with the latest moves and developments from the side of DP Gachagua, especially in Mount Kenya. Yeah. And his most recent challenge has been that of fighting illicit brew in Mount Kenya and also nationwide. And for a menace that has taken down the future of many youths in Mount Kenya, we've seen DP commit himself to that particular endeavor. But even before then, he had an endeavor to crack down on coffee cartels, tea cartels, cartels in the dairy sector, a fight which many believe he has not won, and he's already taken up another challenge. Do you think even this on alcoholism in Mount Kenya is likely to succumb to the same fate? Well,
I saw a video yesterday that encouraged me. I think an assistant chief, a young man, a very nice looking fellow. He was drunk by 10 o'clock and he was accosted by Raila.
10 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah, 10, and they actually said, we are taking this video to Kameme. So I don't know whether they managed to take to Kameme. So I found that a bit encouraging. But fundamentally, let's ask ourselves, where does this alcohol come from? Who are the manufacturers? Can we engage them in alternative alcohol? Because you see, what worries me about this alcohol is not the alcohol content alone. A lot of it is laced with poison. A lot of it is laced with chemicals that are likely to destroy the very young people. You will find a young man already loses appetite because the lining of the lining of the stomach has been eroded away by some of the chemicals they consume.
Corrosive alcohol.
Yeah, corrosive alcohol. So it worries me because we don't know, is it manufactured here? Those are some of the fundamentals that the DP needs to do. But you should also look at it as it is more social than political. You know, you go political, you might lose. You should go to the society itself. Start basic campaign the way the word of the Lord was spread by Jesus. So he needs to go to the basics and it deals with society.
Basic unit of the society.
Of the society. That, in a way, will assist.
Very well.
Yeah.
Shifting gears and now talking matters to do with the latest outfits that we are seeing in the political landscape of Kenyan movements. In Trans Nzoia, or in Western Kenya politics, we are seeing Tawe movement by Governor Natembeya, which is committed towards spearheading economic and political reforms. But crossing over to Mount Kenya, there's a new outfit by Gachagua, Wamshomba, Babu, and a few other legislators, Caleb Amisi and a few others. But this also wants to spearhead economic and political reforms. At a time when we have an official opposition outfit, that is Azimio la Umoja and Kenya Coalition, why do you think this new outfit by Wamshomba and Babu Owino is necessary at this time? And what does that mean now for the future of opposition in Kenya?
Well, it is useful because, as we've said before, strictly Kenyans don't belong to opposition or government. Society is dynamic. That's why for the last 25 years, no outfit has formed the government twice. We started the last one in 97. It was formed by KANU. 2002, it was formed by NAC. 2007, it was formed by PNU. Stroke ODM later on under the Grand Coalition. 2013 it was formed by URP, TNA outfit. Then we moved now to Jubilee, and Jubilee, after Jubilee, Kenya Kwanza. So you can see for the last 25 years, no election has been won by the same outfit. And if you are to check some of the individuals who are in government, some in the opposition, Remember, in 2002, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were in the same outfit. In 2007, William Ruto went to ODM, Uhuru remained in Kano. And of course, moved in with Kibaki. And of course, in 2013, again, Raila and Ruto separated, a chunk of them this side, and Uhuru and Ruto came together again after close to 10 years, and of course under the clarion call that it is what? It is referendum against the Hague. And back at home, it was said, how can we be working with the same community that we were vilifying each other 5 years ago? And the word was, we've been brought together by death, by fear of death. That is, the two leaders were likely to be destroyed by the case in the Hague. And by coming together and perhaps using that as a rallying call to win the election, perhaps their future was assured for survival. It is 2017 that story was almost coming in, but they were not able to fund the issue of Hague sufficiently. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we don't have organic political entities that can transcend 2-3 elections. When I was still working with the current president, when he was deputy president, one of my roles, I had requested him to allow me understudy 2 parties that have survived in Africa. That is ANC in South Africa and CCM in Tanzania. And perhaps look at the model that Botswana is doing, because Botswana has a system of having chiefs and leadership that is common. And the coalition of that makes the ruling party in Botswana. So those are models that we need to borrow, so that this tribalism that we are fighting and we are pretending to be fighting can also be obviated by existence of serious political entities. Back to Amushomba and the young generation. Yes, it's good when you are young and vibrant, you have to experience with a lot of ideas. Remember, during our time when we were calling ourselves young, and how young is also another debate, we had what we were calling Mageuzi, which we promoted, and it reached a stage I told Orengo, this Mageuzi, we cannot succeed on our own. We have to hanker on one of the leaders. Orengo told me, no, you see, Kirwa, you like underrating yourself. I told him, no, I'm just a practical politician. If we don't hanker on the leaders, one of the top leaders, by then the top leaders were people like President Kibaki, the late Wamalwa, Charity Ngilu, Mzee Nyachai, and a few others. People, of course, Wakina Saitoti was seen to be more of a pro-government. But of course, later on, we came together to form NAC. Then, as it were, we anchored ourselves on the 3 leaders, Wamalwa, Ngilu, and Kibaki. Later on, we were joined in by the LDP group. And that's how we survived. So if I was to advise these young politicians, yes, it's good to be young. You can run, you can move faster, you can do many things. Well, possibly by the time I sleep at 10, you are still doing some work. Good for you. But leadership is a blend of the young, the middle age, and the old. Because usually it's like you are driving a car. When you are young, you are like the engine. You provide the speed. But elders provide the brakes. And those of us who are semi-retired, we are the handbrake. When the vehicle is in a stationary form, tunasimamisha, because we've seen some of these things before. Yeah, people were vibrant, but eventually they don't see the long-term plan for Kenya. Because are they saying they are going to be in one political entity? Or is it just a movement for the sake of destroying the current leadership? Because my take, even about the Tawe movement, is that I don't know whether governor has looked at it critically. You know, you can start a vehicle. When we are doing engineering, I did some basic engineering, agricultural engineering. We were told something in the workshop. before you start a machine here, know how to stop it, to switch it off. Because you can start a machine that will be jumping all over the house. And because you don't know how to stop, you run away, and it will destroy people. So even the Tayo movement, or any movement for that matter, what is the final product? It is good. They are agitating on some issues, but those issues should be funneled in a way that it is processed. Are they going to bring motions to parliament? Or is it just you go to the public, you rubbish some individuals, you get into your account, you go home? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not dismissing them, but they need to be careful. Wamshomba has been doing well on her own because she articulates issues, and you realize that those issues are real.
Very well.
Yeah, so but the movement, I don't know.
They should there should be more of thoroughness and forethought into their outfit.
Yes. So they need, I'm not inviting them to give me a job. They need some old hands like us to tell them, hii njia tumepitia before, and we are likely, this road has a cul-de-sac. You know, cul-de-sac at the end where you either turn back or you end nowhere. You go astray. You go astray.
Now that you've mentioned Gathunu Wamshomba, many believe that she is churning now to be the Iron Lady of Mount Kenya and fill in the shoes of, say, Martha Karua and Wangari Maathai and a few others who history has in the best sides. What do you make of Gathunu Wamshomba? For me, in Kenya Kwanza, she's portrayed as the traitor in the temple. On the other hand, the opposition is embracing her, and even many Kenyans. What do you make of her?
Well, she's a good person. She's very articulate, intelligent. I have not shared, I think we've met once or twice. I find her very clear in the issues of our constituency and generally in issues of society. But of course, my take and my request to her is that I know she may be eyeing the position of governor of Kiambu or any other position for that matter. And in politics, it is a crime not to be ambitious. So she may want to be a national leader one of these days. And who knows? She may acquire that particular space. Because when you say, I want to be an MP, you know, the end product is like if you are a primary school student or pupil, you want to get to secondary and university and perhaps teach at the university. But if you went back to primary, it's okay. It's still part of the teaching. And there are many good primary school teachers who have built us to be what we are today.
And very finally, do you think Gathunu Wamshomba's meteoric rise should worry your friend Martha Karua? In Mount Kenya politics and also national politics.
You know, I think, this leadership is presenting each other with a baton. We'll give it to her because Martha Karua is actually, we share almost a similar birthday. Yeah, I'm 3 days older than her. Mine is 18, as is 21st or 23, I don't know. Just a few days. The same year, 1957. So we will be handing over batons to the young people. But they should not emasculate us. They should also realize that this space we all occupy. And who knows? I've told you, Richard, never write obituary of a politician unless you are dancing on his grave. Anything can happen.
I shouldn't write yours this early.
Don't write. You see Abdoulaye Wade
of Senegal
became president at the age of 74. He had tried 7 times, 5 times. And the old man is still alive. He's the one who endorsed the young man who is now the president. Towards the end, Abdoulaye Wade endorsed him. And that's how we got 57%. Joseph Boakai of Liberia, he's 79 and he beat a young man, the footballer called who? George
Weah.
Yeah, George Weah. He beat him. So I'm not yet even 70. So I still got 10 years to be around.
Akiro's presidency is not a far-fetched dream. It could happen.
It's not a dream. I could get into that arrangement. I could be prime minister.
And also there's a possibility you could join the other side, Kenya Kwanza, and probably been given a docket. So that they maybe at least buy your silence.
I would rather advise the president on good things. Yeah. Including the fact that Mithika can do something else. That docket is too heavy for him.
Or at least you can chip in to save the ship from sinking.
Well, I can chip in, but not to occupy that space.
Not to occupy the space.
Unless you know, the issue is simple. I enjoyed the ministry partly because of good officers and partly because of a good president. It gave me a latitude of freedom to make decisions. And anytime I made mistakes, he allowed me to correct the mistakes I made. I'm not saying I did not make mistakes. I made plenty of them. But he allowed me to correct. I don't know whether the current president will have the patience with me. So why should I spoil our relationship? He's my good brother. He will do his 5 years or 10 years. Then we meet in the village.
Talking of matters to do with ambitions and dreams, and on a very light note, when you were appointed minister, I was actually in class 1, and here we are seated. Isn't that a dream come true?
But yeah, but also, why did I go to Mangu? I went to Mangu because that's the school Kibaki had joined in the 50s or in the 40s.
Okay.
So my good teacher, Mwalimu Njendi, is now in Sinoko, told me this is a good school. Mboya had been to the same school, Kibaki, those were my heroes. So when we were seated in the cabinet, I said, God is kind. This is a man who was in Mangu many years
and here
before me, and we were seated in the same arrangement, and we were 5 of us. It was Kibaki himself, Mzee Mudi Awori, the late Saitoti, Michuki and I, in the same cabinet. So God is kind.
Surreal.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. So if you are happy that Standard 1 and we are here together, you may be a serious Kenyan in future. I come to your office, I remind you, you know, we used to sit together.
Those days.
Yeah, those days.
When I used to have 2 pairs of shirts.
Yeah.
Maybe I could ascend to your seat someday.
Yeah.
Well, that point marks the end of this conversation today. We've been talking matters to do with gamer politics and the larger national politics, starting from what the future portends for DP Rigathi Gachagua in the world of politics and governance, and also the new movements and outfits that we are seeing. One spearheaded by Babu Owino, Gathoni Wamshomba, and several other allies, and also the Tawe movement spearheaded by Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya. We've also discussed the viability of those very same outfits, and who better will have taken you down on that route than former Minister Kipruto Arap Kirwa. And that's why we are always grateful to have you on board. You really are deep into history.
Thank you.
You have facts at your fingertips.
Thank you.
That is really something that is so, subtle and noble from you.
Thank you. I thank God for it because I think I inherited a good memory from my late mother. Yeah, and she was my first teacher because, as I've told you, I went to school at the age of 14. So for those 14 years, I was seated next to her because she was an old woman. So she gave me nuggets of wisdom, both in the traditional way and how to handle society.
And she invested in education.
She invested. My father, of course, paid my fees, but my mother was my first teacher.
She was the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Until next time on Richard Mwenje Exclusive, enjoy the rest of your day. Indeed, we appreciate your support this far.